it's 7:01. So I'll let that last citizen sign. I'm Butch Colmus, President of the Ord City Council and Chairman of the city's Budget and Finance Committee. This is a properly posted meeting. It's for information and educational purposes, so there won't be any official action taken tonight. It's meant for information and educational purposes only. There is an Open Meetings Act posted because it is officially posted meeting on the back of the room there by the door. So we will follow the Open Meetings Act. There is no agenda, but the purpose of this meeting was to give citizens of Ord an opportunity to speak to the Ord City Council and the city's Budget and Finance Committee about the fiscal year 2012 proposed budget. There is no official budget, only a proposed budget. Again, this meeting is meant to be an educational opportunity for both the public and the city. I hope to keep the business at hand courteous, calm, and constructive, not destructive. We want this to be a positive meeting. There will not be formal minutes of the meeting, but Sandy Krumel has agreed to take informal notes. So we will try to jot down some of the questions, answers, and comments, but they will be informal. I don't expect her to get each and every one because it's going to be moved right along. I also currently don't have a plan for any particular rules of order, but do intend to stay on topic. The topic tonight is the city's fiscal year 2012 proposed budget. So we're not going to be talking about dogs and cats or anything else. We're going to focus on the budget. Jade Stunkel asked for this meeting, and we have some information. I'm going to have him read into the record.
Good evening. My name is Jade Stunkel. I would like to thank Valley County and the Valley County Fair Board for letting us use their facilities this evening. The last several years, the city's budget has become more and more difficult to manage. The city of Ord is up against the maximum levy limit.
Jake, some are having trouble hearing you. Sorry.
I don't think there is. I apologize. We do not have a mic system, so we'll try to speak up.
We cannot collect any more property taxes without having a vote of the public. The Budget and Audit Committee of the City Council has spent a lot of time evaluating additional revenue sources and reductions in expenditures for the general fund. This is the portion of the city budget that is funded by property taxes. The Utility Department is funded by revenue from electric, water, and sewer services. Although the Utility Department assists the general fund in many ways, the council has not been in favor of utilizing utility revenue for operation of the street, police, cemetery, park, and pool. Initially, the city was looking at an approximate shortfall of approximately $580,000 for our general fund. This means that if the city spent everything that was budgeted, our revenues would be $580,000 less than the expenditures. After extensive consideration, the committee has recommended a budget to the council with a shortfall of approximately $268,000. As part of the recommendation, the Budget and Audit Committee is recommending that the city consider contracting with Valley County for law enforcement services. The purpose of this meeting is to receive input from the public regarding the budget and the possibility of contracting with the county for law enforcement services. At this point, nothing in the budget is final. The council continues to evaluate expenditures including employee wages and benefits, repairs and equipment, supplies, street, park, and golf course maintenance, and services including police protection and the swimming pool. A public hearing will be held on September 7, 2011 at 7:45 p.m. regarding the city's budget. Following this hearing, the council will consider adopting the budget. I would like to point out the council is currently in the process of considering an ordinance that would place Keno on the ballot. This would be an additional source of revenue for the general fund. The council is reading this ordinance on 3 separate occasions. The first reading took place at the August council meeting. It is possible that a special mail election could take place in early December, in we encourage the public to consider they would support Keno as an additional revenue source. As I said, the purpose of this meeting is to obtain input from the public regarding the budget and the possibility of contracting with the county for law enforcement. We will not be reviewing specific budget line items, as this has been covered extensively at previous public meetings of the Budget and Audit Committee. However, you will be given an opportunity to express your feelings and provide suggestions. Please come to the front to address the council and public so everyone can hear, and begin by stating your name. Please do not interrupt others while speaking, and keep your comments brief and to the point so everyone has time to speak. Feel free to point out what services you currently receive that you value the most. For example, street maintenance, snow removal, street marking, street lighting, police protection, park, cemetery, and golf course maintenance, and the swimming pool. We do not intend for this meeting to turn into a debate, nor do we want to hear personal attacks on individual council members, city or county employees. Our goal is to hear constructive ideas and suggestions from our constituents. We want to thank you for your participation.
And I'd also like to announce as a courtesy, if you would go ahead and switch the ringers off on your cell phones, I would appreciate it. They're kind of disruptive. This meeting is for the citizens, and we made our comments. We've got a proposed budget that we're looking at, and now we're asking for any input from you. So if you'd like to step forward, give us your name, and make your statements and or comments or questions. Who wants to be first? But to get you off to the side here so the citizens can hear as well.
I might even sit down if I could. My name is Bob Sevenker, and I'm currently chairman of the Valley County Board of Supervisors. And I didn't necessarily want to be first, Butch, but I'd like to first thank the council for hosting the meeting, and I appreciate it that you take the time to do that. But I thought some of you, in regard to the consolidation question, I could give you just a little bit of background from the county perspective on what's taken place. And Jade had indicated to keep it simple, so I'll go through this as fast as I can. But you know, early in the summer, the county was approached by a city council member, and the sheriff's department was approached, and to provide the cost for a possible consolidation between the City of Ord Police Department and the Sheriff's Department. So the Sheriff, Casey Halbert, County Clerk Jeanette Lindsay, Helen Cullers, who is here, who is Vice Chair of the Valley County Board of Supervisors, and myself, Chairman of the Valley County Board of Supervisors, met to discuss the possibility of the consolidation and also the cost of such consolidation. And the figure provided to the city was $250,000 a year for 3 years, or until the end of 2014, which would correspond to the end of the present sheriff's elected term. And I thought at any time with a 6-month or a year clause in it that the city could opt out. We should know before the filing deadline, I think, for the next term, which begins in 2015, whether if the consolidation does take place, whether it should continue. Maybe some of you don't presently know, but we have an interlocal agreement with the City of Ord right now on partial consolidation of communications, where the Sheriff's Department handles the communications in the evening hours, and then I believe on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We had asked for a little increase in that from the city because it hadn't been looked at for a number of years, and it presently was at $7,500, and it would be increased to $12,000 if they agreed. Of course, if the consolidation would take place, then this would be eliminated also. The proposal that we came up with as a committee was presented, we've discussed it several times, but was discussed again yesterday at the Valley County, our meeting yesterday, our regularly scheduled meeting. And for the record, a motion was made to extend this offer of $250,000 to the city for their consideration. The motion passed 6 in favor and none against, and 1 supervisor was absent. You know, it seems like this has been discussed. It's kind of unfortunate, but there's a lot of rumors and misinformation out there and character assassination that shouldn't be part of this, but it seems like that's happened. You know, one councilman stated that the county was sitting back licking their lips waiting to get control, and that is as far from the truth as it can be. The county is extending an offer to the city to help with a possible solution to some of their budget shortfalls. It is now up to the city council to decide, you know, how to proceed. Another comment that I've heard was that people that live outside the city limits would now be assuming some of the responsibility for paying law enforcement within the city. And again, that's not true. The figures that we provided would take care of the law enforcement in the city. There would be no additional taxes at all assessed to anybody that lies outside the city limits. On our present board, we're made up of 4 people that live in the rural area and 3 that live in the city. So you know that the 4 people in the rural area isn't going to help fund the city taxes on that. And we got 7 votes and 4 to 3. You can see why, you know, it's not going to happen. You know, the people that live within the city do pay county taxes, so we're already paying part of the sheriff's department. We already, you know, we've got approximately a $2 million budget for the county between the road and everything else, and so the people in the city do pay county taxes. However, the people in the county outside the city limits do not pay any city taxes, and with any consolidation, they wouldn't either. Another question I've heard is, you know, how could the county possibly provide the same quality of service for $150,000 less than what it currently costs the city? And currently, as you all know, there's a chief of police and there's a part-time dispatcher and there's 3 full-time officers. If there was a consolidation, what's been proposed is the sheriff's department would add 3 additional officers to their present 4, so there would be 7 total. And our present sheriff feels that there would not be any kind of reduction in services to the city or the county. And another factor is that the county salaries and our benefit package are considerably lower than the city. So that's where the savings comes up, and that's a $150,000 difference. You know, would it work? You know, I know it works other places. Would consolidation work? You know, I feel it could work. It's going to take a lot of cooperation, and but it's, you know, we presently contract with Arcadia North Loop for law enforcement. And I believe the sheriff's department meets monthly with the village boards. And at times, or right now, I think that it's my understanding, you know, both departments, the sheriff's department, both North Loop and Arcadia, are very satisfied with the services that they have. You know, obviously, Ord's a lot larger. We've got a lot more people. There's more problems. And there's a lot of details that need to be worked out. But I feel confident that if it were to proceed in this direction, that a committee from the city council, a committee from the county board, I'm sure that they could sit down and work the details out. You know, obviously we're all in this thing together. You know, it's a shame when you're talking about people's jobs and cutting, but over the years at one time our road department had 20-some employees, and now we're down to 10 or 11, and you know, things change. And the issue to me isn't at all about control. You know, the county board isn't looking for me to control of anything. You know, you, the people of Valley County, and the taxpayers and the voters, you're the ones that have control. If the consolidation takes place, you go to the, you vote, you elect the chief law enforcement officer of the county. You know, it's up to you. Control isn't anything that the county board is looking for at all. You know, to me, the issue is about our responsibility as elected officials to provide the best services we can possible, and that's what you taxpayers deserve. You know, to be as efficient as possible with the hard-earned tax dollars, you know, that you provide. You know, the city came to the county, we've extended an offer and willingness to work together. And whatever the council decides is fine with us. You know, we're not pushing one way or the other on this thing. Whatever they decide is fine. But, you know, I really think there's resources we can share, and hopefully we can get along and share them. And, you know, I don't know if anybody's had any questions of what I've said. I'd be happy to answer them. If not, I thank you very much for your time, and again, appreciate you hosting the meeting.
Can I ask a question? I'm Pauline Tolpa, and I'm a citizen of Ord. budgets that we were in, the red so bad, did anybody see it coming? And did anybody kind of adjust the budgets as time went by? I mean, this just didn't fall out of the sky, right? It's been coming down the pike, has it not? I mean, you can't just all of a sudden say the 250,000 in the hole.
We've been facing a city shortfall for a number of years. We've made up a lot of the deficit by controlled spending. But this year in particular, we had a valuation decline and we had a loss of state aid. And those two issues alone weren't the contributing factor, but they assisted in putting us in worse than normal shape. As was stated earlier, we had about a $580,000 shortfall that our accountant told us that we had to deal with. We have a certain amount of what's the term I'm trying? Yeah, cash reserve. Thank you. That we have, available, but we can't keep taking hits on our cash reserve. So the Budget and Finance Committee has been working on this year's budget for a couple of months now. We went through the budget. We looked at each budget item. We were making cuts of $1,000 here and $1,000 there. But at the end of our first phase of going through the budget, we weren't coming up with the dollars that we needed. So we had a reevaluation with all the department heads within the city. They revised their budgets. They were to come back with bare bones budgets. We got that deficit down further, but still not enough. And so that's when we started looking at more drastic action. So it has not been, something that just came to us this year. We've been facing it for some time.
May I go up front?
Yep, you have the opportunity.
That's what I'm supposed to do. Well, I guess, since the time I was a young teenager, a very young teenager, my father always told me I had to budget. And for all my life, I tried to budget. And I know there comes a point in your business matters, and I'm a businesswoman as well in town, there comes a point where you start to feel you're walking on thin ice. And you're really kind of, I feel personally, whether it's our community or your own personal business or your personal life, when you feel that little edge coming, you really have to, first of all, put the brakes on. And I guess I'm kind of confused because if this is not a bomb that just fell out of the sky and it's been coming, I have never seen a freeze on wages, a freeze. I mean, the word freeze, whether it's local, national, state, or whatever, the word freeze, which I heard a lot in the early 70s, is no longer part of the English language, where you put a freeze, and then that at least stops the rushing horses, and then after that you start saying, okay, I guess some of my things are, I mean, if we're in a real bad pig hole, do we really need a swimming pool? I guess as a mother of 4 children, I think we could have lived without a pool. Things that demand money that we really, as a whole country, it's not just our community, we got to start saying, hey, can we live without this? I think we can. And, mosquitoes, it's nice not to have them, but if it helps the budget, can't we use our own yard guard by rate to kill the mosquitoes when we're outside our own homes? I mean, we can afford to do that as families. But like the police department, I kind of have a concern about that. I'm very proud of our local town chief of policemen. He's been very good in our issues that we've had in our neighborhood, and I guess as a grandparent, a parent, and so forth, I have a concern that if he is with the sheriff's department, I feel if they have to run out to the country, they have to run out into the country. And Ord will not have the protection that we have with our local police as we do now, because they will have to answer to our sheriff, and they will be taking care of the whole county, not just Ord. So that is a concern of mine. But I think, like, if you look at the hospital, when they have budget cuts, which they get them rather often, a lot of people, like when I worked there, we had to combine jobs. We had to combine. somebody left, one person picked up the slack, whether you're making hospital beds for all day long, someone leaves, you're just demanded to pick up the slack. If our budget is that tight, I'm just wondering if there's personnel that could be laid off and people combine job descriptions. Has that ever been a consideration?
All of those issues have been discussed.
Because like I said, I didn't know since the last 48 hours, I didn't realize we were in that bad of a pickle, but like, do we really need expensive cop cars? I mean, I see SUVs and big heavy-duty pickups, which are all gas hogs. That does not help the budget, and I wondered as a taxpayer, how are we paying for all these new gadgets? And at a town of 2,200 people, we're between two rows of corn. It's not like we're LA or Chicago or New York. Why do we need all the, I'm sorry, I'm from the East Coast, folks. I just don't see why we need all these heavy-duty police cars, and I sure would like an answer tonight to that question, because I haven't been able to figure it out since I've been watching them cruise around town. Guess that's all, guys.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure anybody's ready. Anyone wishing to comment to that?
As far as someone going out in the county, the way it's proposed to us is there'll be someone, if it's consolidated, from the sheriff's department just in Ord, exact same hours or more than what we're currently getting covered. It has nothing to do with anything they're doing in the county. There would be someone in Ord now. If there's an emergency in North Loop or Arcadia, and the closest law official is the Ord police chief or whatever, they go. If they need help, they go, and they can go. And they'd get back as soon as possible. But as far as having someone go in the county, unless an officer needs assistance, there would be somebody there just as much or more than what we're currently getting now.
So as far as police protection, you're saying it's going to be the same as it always has been?
Hours coverage should be the same or a little more.
And again, that's a proposal.
That's the
not a
proposal. And I said, yeah, there's no contract yet, and everything is still, in there. But as far as, I always said, I just want to compare apples to apples. So give me what we have, where we at, what would it cost? I don't want to say, well, we want less hours or this. I want to have, what is it the same? If we choose to have less hours covered, then to me the price should go down from where it's currently at.
I guess I would still like an answer about our new police vehicles. Were those grants, or did we have to pay for them out of our tax?
They were a
money?
combination of both. They were funds that were put aside in the city budget, in past city budgets, in a sinking fund for police equipment, and there were grant funds available as well. So all the cars, all the pickups were bought through the proper procedures and through the city budgets. Now, as far as the year or the make or anything like that, I'm not really going to get specific on that for you. But they were bought with city funds.
Josh Smith. Instead of cutting...
You're going to have to speak up. I'm having trouble hearing you.
I'm Josh Smith. Instead of cutting the Ord Police Department, can we come up with these funds by pulling a little bit of funding from, everything, instead of just cutting one major thing, from the park or from the pool or the golf course? Can we take a little bit of everything and come up with it, or will that not even come close to...
The Budget and Finance Committee considered that. We made as lean a budget available as we could. We felt that to keep certain services available, there's not a lot of opportunities in the city budget to go further without cutting major services and or personnel. The City Council gave the Budget and Finance Committee a job, and that was to try to deal with the budget deficits. I felt did our job in going through the budget a number of times, working as much as we could to maintain and not affect a lot of people with our cuts. And we made a proposal. Now it's up to the City Council to make that final decision on how they want to proceed with the budget.
It was mentioned that the city law enforcement pay and benefits were more than the county pay and benefits. Was that included in the budget cut?
That comment was made. I don't know if anyone on the council right now has has any comment on that.
Everything's still on the table.
Everything's on the table, but that's the
Wages,
question.
benefits,
I was just curious if that was, included in that.
It will be.
We're considering those options, yes.
That's all I have.
Thank you. I guess just to speak for the Budget and Finance Committee, we saw an opportunity to save the city $150,000, and we felt that was a significant amount of money that we couldn't ignore, and that's the reason we brought it forward to the city council. There are good things and bad things about it, and it's not something that the Budget and Finance Committee was happy about. We don't want to affect people's lives and/or services if we can help it, but we felt that we were just not being able to live within our means, and this was one opportunity. There are others, and there are others that we're considering, but that's the reason for this meeting tonight, is to get your comments on, what services and services, I guess, are you willing to, part with? Is that an option? We either had the opportunity, we had options to raise the income. Well, we can't do it by property tax any further. We're up to the lid. So the other opportunity was Keno, which we're going to try to put on the ballot. And as Jay mentioned in his presentation, we've had our first reading on presenting Keno to the city as an option to bring in additional income. We can have a town hall meeting, which we would have to have a vote of the population to go beyond our current lid. Those are the two general opportunities we have for additional funding. The other is to maintain as we have and try to control spending, but have a workable budget and keep services as close as we can to the current situation. But we're losing, our give me that name again. Our our cash reserve. Jeez, I'm in trouble with that. I've used that term for a number of times.
Write it on your paper.
I am.
Big word.
It's a big word. One of those brain moments. But the other is to cut, and like I said, this was just an opportunity we thought we had to bring forward to the city. So I'll quit talking and we'll go to our next speaker.
Oh, I like listening to you, Rich. Makes sense to me. Well, my name is Guy Brock. First, I'd like to thank the City Council for holding this public forum to hear from us taxpayers. And I'd like to thank the Budget Committee for its obvious hard work it has put in addressing this budget. I got copies from Sandy, our clerk, and clearly from looking at those numbers, the Budget Committee has spent a lot of time crunching numbers. And I myself would like to thank you for that. I believe consolidation for law enforcement makes good sense. I believe it made good sense 2.5 years ago when I asked the council then to take a serious look at it. And a city the size of Ord, it just makes good sense. Not only in good economic sense, but I think there's several perks here that we can look forward to. I've always maintained that there's somewhat of a shadow that hangs over our police department in the town of being able to actually execute their job fully. By going under the sheriff's department for our police protection, we kind of remove that shadow. And the other perk I believe we have is we make the sheriff, or the highest law enforcement official in the city, accountable to the voters, directly to the voters. As far as I'd like to comment too on the street improvements. I've seen a remarkable street improvement considering the budget what we've done here, just this past summer and this spring. Again, and I would suggest to the folks that haven't had the opportunity is get copies of the budget from the previous years and the past year and look those numbers over. Again, I have to commend the Budget Committee. They've done a good job, and I think you're moving in the right direction. And I would definitely suggest or ask that you adopt the present budget that's been proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Other speakers?
Well, it's been a long time, guys. I haven't talked to you guys for a long time, except for Neil. I will preface my remarks by saying that I'm very disappointed with the Ord Police Department as it now functions, okay? By the way, I'm John Young. I think these guys know me. But I'm also very much against the consolidation. I think that loss of control, and I know what Bob meant, and I understand what he's saying, but I don't mean it in that way. What I mean is that the city council just plain doesn't have control over the police department. Once you sign those papers to consolidate, that's it for 3 years or whatever. Neil and I have talked about this for, we're blue in the face, and we respectfully disagree. But I just don't think at the end result that you'll really be happy with it if it happens. The other thing, and these guys won't like this, but a lot of the problems that we have with the police department at this time are because of you guys. Okay? Number one, the two cars you got, somebody should have saw that coming. Now, I know you kind of had a one-man rule for 4 years, and I know that he's the one that told the chief, go ahead and buy it. But somebody should have saw that coming. Half the people in town knew it, and yet nothing was done either time. That's a lot of money that you spent on that. I think you'll agree with that. There were some other things that Mayor O'Brien, for whatever reason, let it go. And that's just not the way it should be. The other thing, and I've talked to Neil about this for a long time, when I was here for 20-some years, we had a police committee made up of 3 people on the city council, and it really worked. I was responsible to them. They, you know, if they had a problem, they knew who to call. It wasn't like it is now. Okay? And if, you know, any kind of problem, I kept them appraised of what we were doing. Talking to Neil today, I was absolutely amazed that your chief of police does not know how many hours you work, or how many hours they work. I've never heard of such a thing. That's his job. How can you make a budget out if you don't know how many hours you're working? Those are things that you let slip by you that you shouldn't. You know, it's just, that's the way it is. Me, and not just me, a lot of guys with me. I had good people working for me most of the time. And I talked with Neil about this. There was a few we had to let go. But I had good people, and we had something that we thought we could be proud of. Did we make mistakes? Hell yes, we did. But we always tried to rectify them. And the bottom line was we did our job, and we tried to be fair to people. Okay? And I don't see that now. Now, you're talking $250,000, right? That's what Bob said.
150 would have been the difference from the first.
Well, yeah, but you got
Is the
250
proposed,
for
yes,
the
for the
consolidation.
coverage. Correct.
You cut the 3 people, there's your 250, right there. And you still got control of your deal. Because I think, weren't you talking about 280,000?
Well, Adam's revised budget that he came back with the 3 people was $280,346. That did not include 31,000 communications, which have to get added. And that was on 6,240 hours of coverage.
which we discussed.
Yeah, that
Last
was the
year,
elimination of, some sick time and overtime. But-
yeah, I mean, last year, they worked 9,199 and a half hours. So
The other thing is,
that's,
a lady in the audience asked me when I got here, did you work all shifts? Did you this, did you that? Yes, I did. I worked all shifts just like my officers did. I took one weekend a month off, just like my officers did. I was not better than them. If you can't treat your people right, you're not going to get good people. That's plain and simple. And the type of people you have is a reflection on your whole city. Okay? Any questions of me?
I just want to make a comment. One is that, when the Budget and Finance Committee looked at the budget, we looked at the budget and the numbers. And we did not look at performance or satisfaction. We have not been displeased with our police department or the service we've received at all.
I
That's
understand.
not an issue here, so.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, this was simply a budget decision.
And that's my feeling, is that you guys have to take a lot of responsibility for that. Okay?
Heard your comments. Next.
I guess I do have a question with what Mr. Carson was.
Can I get you to speak up, please?
You were talking about 9,000 hours. What is that, 9,000 hours?
9,199 and a half hours is how many hours they did the last fiscal year, not the current one that we're in now, the previous one
Okay,
that's
so,
totally into
so the revision came in with 6,000 hours, so we
6,240 hours.
we definitely have a cut in service.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm a numbers person, so, like I said, forgive me if I talk too fast. But, like I said, if you took his proposed budget, Adam's last revised budget, when they were down to 3 officers, you added in the communications, 30,990, the difference in the hours, if you divided it equally amongst 3, Adam, Dennis, and Patty, each of them would have to work 986 and a half more hours each. And at current rates, that would add $58,233.11 to his proposal. So I like doing apples to apples. So if you added that and the communications together, the difference, Bob stated 150 off the original budget, that's where it was. It would be $119,569.11 per year savings. So more or less 10 grand a month.
Correct.
And like I said,
And no cut in services.
If anything, the way, again, it's all proposed, nothing's been set in stone. We may gain 1 hour per day. So we might gain 365 hours over the course of a year. And I said, I just want to have apples to apples, this is what it is. Like I said, I've talked to John many times. We agree to differ on different things, but we still get along and talk, and we see both sides of the coin. Is there a way to compromise? Yeah, there may be, but I'm not willing to almost give up 3,000 hours and pay, you'd be paying 62,000 more.
Exactly.
Plus lose 3,000 hours of service. I just can't go there.
One thing that would contribute to those additional 9,000 hours was that we had an officer in training school, so you're actually paying double, so that just is a consideration of
Yeah,
those
we're making
hours.
up.
We couldn't hear what Sandy was saying.
You want to repeat that, or do you want?
Me?
We had an officer
Actually-
in training this year, so that would mean we were paying 2 officers for the same time, so that might account for some of those additional hours.
Some of the excess hours, right?
Correct.
And that could happen in future years.
And I want to make it clear, too, that when the Budget Committee forwarded our proposed budget to the council, we did not have the final draft revisions that Adam put together for the police department. He made some significant changes on that, and they're still under consideration. It was just that the Budget Committee had done their work, and we were needing to get our recommendation to the city. So, again, this is a proposed budget. It has not been voted on by the city, and it is subject to modification. So there are some other options that are available that we'll look at, but we wanted to get the input from the public as well before we looked at those other options. And this proposal is still on the table as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to give
Yes.
Pauline one.
On a scale from 1 to 10, where I know how I stand with my own personal budgets, but I'm not clear with this bombshell. I didn't realize we were that far in the hole, but I saw it coming with all of what I see in my neighborhood, I mean, in my community. But on a scale from 1 to 10, could you enlighten all of us, where are we? Is it a 4? Are we at a 5? Are we above 5 in a financial
What are we
crisis?
measuring? A financial crisis?
Well, you say we're 250,000 in the hole.
No, I said we're showing
Yeah, so
a,
on a scale from 1 to 10, does this make it?
let's
a
correct
little
some of the
concern?
terminology first. What we're looking at is a $200 and some thousand reduction in our cash reserve. We still have money in the bank. We are not critical or bankrupt or in the red. What we're doing is we're losing equity within the city. So even with some of the shortfalls we're looking at with controlled spending, the only reason we would hit that limit is if we spent every dollar we put in the budget. And what is a budget? A budget is a tool to guide you in your financial decisions made throughout the year. It's an estimate. So I guess if I have to put a number on, and the rest of the city council might disagree with me, but I would say we're probably, is a high number good or bad?
10 is bad, 5 is average, below 5
All
is
right,
not a big
I would probably
concern to
put
the
us
community.
in maybe a 3 or 4, because we do have other options available. We're not destitute, but we're not in a very good position right now, and the trends have not been very good. So that's why we have to make some decisions today.
Okay, so what you're telling me is that we're digging into like a general type fund to fill in the gap, because what we have going right here, there's not enough income to continue this level. So we have to go into the general fund to level out our budget to come out. And if you keep picking in the cookie jar, one day she'll go empty.
Okay, right.
So I'm going to ask you if I've got that correct. Are we, when we're doing a budget every year, are we looking to balance our budget, or is that not a concern? We just go into the cookie jar every year? Are we trying to make a balanced budget to balance our seesaw? Or do we just not worry about a balanced budget and we just keep going in the cookie jar?
We're trying not to dip into the cookie jar any more than we have to, but there are certain conditions and emergency situations that come up. If, for an example, we have a real hard winter, our roads department might spend more money because of snow removal. If we have a very easy summer, we don't have to spend so much money on snow removal. So you have to have money set aside in your budget for that type of, did I say that?
You said summer. Snow removal in the summer.
Perfect example. That's why I'm here.
But
So,
again, though,
I'm saying that you have ups and downs, but you have ups and downs in different
but you
departments.
do
and-
budget X amount of dollars for snow removal?
Yes, we do.
X amount of dollars for every
And hopefully we
service?
have a good winter so that we don't have to spend it all.
And
Yeah,
so
we
what
hope that we have a
happens
good summer so we don't have to spray mosquitoes every day.
If we
But
do have a good winter, then does that money stay in some sort of escrow fund for the next year? Does it roll over?
it's a budget, so it's in a general fund and it rolls. If we have excess funds, it rolls over. If we have not enough funds to make it through the entire year, we have to take from cash reserve. And what we're facing is that there's a greater potential today of dipping into our cash reserve than we've had in the past. The trend is down. We're providing more services than what we can afford with a locked-in budget.
More expensive because of the price of gas.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors, but
And, yeah.
fuel and everything is a factor. As we see higher expenses, naturally it takes more money to run the city.
Was that a consideration when we got our new police cars that were all gas hogs? I'm sorry, I'm a conservative and I live within a budget. And I just can't see, why did we get gas hogs and not like a regular Dodge Charger or something a little less fancy or, I mean, we
What
are
we
in
were
a high
trying,
price gas.
excuse me, Polly, but to keep things moving, we asked that we weren't going to get into specific
Oh, I'm
items
talking
within the budget, and I realize that that is a concern, and a sore spot, I think, within the city. We're trying to deal with the vehicles were authorized. We'll take responsibility for them. What we're looking at now is how do we try to fix those trends. So, okay. I'm going to go back here. Please. How loud do you talk?
I can talk to you loud.
Okay, that's good to hear.
My name is Kayla Beefy, and I just have 2 questions to start with. I know you have to look at the numbers, but my question is, have you looked to see other cities in the state of Nebraska that are the same size that have contracted with the local sheriff's department? And are you able to look at a level of satisfaction? I just have a difficult time seeing how you can attain the same amount of services when you have the sheriff's department that's covering a wide range. I think of Halloween. We live right on 18th Street, and it's the police department that is out there. And I watch these kids, and I can call the police, and they're there. Will the sheriff's department really be able to provide that kind of service? And I know that's Halloween. It's a greater activity than normal night, but that's a concern I have. Are there other cities that are the same size as Ord? And you're trying to constantly attract more people to come to Ord. And well, we don't have a Ord Police Department anymore. So those are concerns to me. How does that reflect on the city of Ord? We can't afford to pay Ord Police, but we contract out. And the other question I have is, when you say there's going to be 24/7 coverage, does that mean someone on duty, or does that mean someone on call?
I can start with that. Through the proposal by the county, like Bob stated as well, there's someone just for Ord. There'll be someone here. It has nothing to do with what they're doing in the county. That will not change. We're paying for someone in Ord. And like I said, apples to apples, okay? If I can contract for the same number of hours a day that are covered, what we currently covered this year, and I can do it for anywhere from $120,000 to $150,000 less, to me, that's almost a no-brainer. I mean, yes, you're going to lose some control per se. 51% of the population of Valley County lives within Ord. So the citizens of Ord can take control if they choose to do so. Okay? But like I said, I'm not willing to say, let's only do 6,240 hours and have 3,000 hours up. Not that they wouldn't be there at Halloween, I'm sure they would. But, you know, for what we're getting now, as far as specifics, and obviously with your husband being a state patrolman, I said their hours and shifts when I grew up next to Jerry Smith, so I kind of knew when his car was in and out leaving, but I said, you know, but that you have stuff on there. We would have the exact same, and I think it's actually 1 hour more per day of actual someone in Ord, wheels on the ground, to be there. So actually we're gaining 365 hours a year. And that's how come I said the proposal that we have is that where can we save money and not lose services? Because again, I don't want to cut services. You know, we've had the pool brought up, we've had other things that do not lose money. It's a quality of life issue and stuff like that. Do you want to? Because we talked about that earlier this year about the pool. I mean, there's ways to do it, but where are you going to try to save money and not lose service? I said, do we lose some control? Definitely. I mean, you know, it isn't as easy as, you know, the police chief, the mayor calls up and does whatever. You know what I mean? Hopefully through, if it does go through or whatever, that would be something that would be in a contract with the county and obviously with the board, some members of the city council and the Valley County Board of Commissioners to work that out. And then those boards would actually meet on whatever basis whoever it is sees fit.
I guess I'll touch on your first question was, you know, are we concerned about consolidation? And yes, we are. There's not unanimous support for this proposal, and right now it is only a proposal and something that we're looking at. You know, if we've got another way out, I think we'd like to look at that. I don't know that anybody's really, I've not voted, you know, on the proposal yet. I mean, that's to come, you know, with the city council decision on the budget. Are there things we can do once the budget's approved? I think there are. Nothing's firm with me, and I'm speaking for myself only now, not for the council or for the city, but you know, we have to negotiate a contract with the county, and I'm comfortable with doing that. we'd like to go over with the county and discuss this. But, you know, there are issues we have to look at, concerns that we all have, and then it comes down to a vote of the council. And, you know, I'm not speaking for them.
In answer to your one other question about if other communities have done it and has it worked, if Mayor Goldfish were here, he has stated to me that he has checked that out with other towns that have tried it, and he said that the majority of those communities said it did not work. And that's his opinion, and I'm sure if he were here, he would be telling you that. So we did get that bit of input from him.
Sonny?
Did that answer your question? Okay. Go ahead. And I'd like you to come forward.
I
if
need
you
no
would.
audio talk. I'll speak loud enough. The question I ask is, if the city council and the supervisors approve this merger, does the county, do we have a vote on this? I live in Leary Township. I do not live in the city, I live in Leary Township. Does the county have a vote on this, if the city council and the supervisors approve this, or not?
As far as I understand, we can enter into a contract or an interlocal agreement with the county board.
Without a vote of the county?
I'm
you
not
sure of
aware
that?
that we have to take it to any type of a vote of the people. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but I am not aware that we would have to take it to a vote. It is going to be a negotiated contract and interlocal agreement between the city and the county, just as we did with our communications contract.
One other clarification, if
Did that answer your question?
I'm sorry.
Did that answer your question?
He didn't answer the question, he didn't know.
Okay, we'll take it back then.
One other clarification, our police officers would then go to the county, under the county sheriff. That relieves our city budget, that money, but as taxpayers, would our county taxes then go up to absorb the inflow of our local policemen?
Bob talked about that.
I know, and I needed clarification.
Bob, you want to talk about that again real quick?
The proposal was for the city to pay for the 3 additional officers and all related expenses, and no, the county taxes would not be any part of that. Does that answer your question? Sonny, I don't think that, as Butch doesn't think, I don't think there would need a vote of people. I think it's up to the supervisor to enter into those agreements. So no, you wouldn't have to vote the way I understand it. I'm not 100% sure, but I think.
And I'm not 100% sure, but I'm 90% sure that would be the case. We would negotiate a contract.
None of the county's budget that it currently has would be used for Ord police protection.
No.
Correct. Okay.
Depends on the negotiations. We haven't entered into a contract yet. John?
I just got one question, and I know Dan and Butch, both of you remember this. Whatever happened to when I used to put my budget in, and you guys come back and say, well, yeah, it looks pretty good, but here's what you're gonna get. Okay? And you cut.
Yeah. We considered that.
Apparently that doesn't happen.
We considered, all those items are not new to us. We've looked at each and every one so far that's been mentioned. Now, I'm still looking for the silver bullet and the, you know, suggestion on how we can do this without hurting anybody or any services. And so far, I haven't heard any alternative options, but I'm still waiting for that silver bullet to come from this group. That's what we're hoping for.
You guys would, I don't think I ever had one that you didn't cut.
And they did make several cuts in all of the budgets, I mean,
All of the
including the
budgets,
street department.
We've been working on this for quite a while, John.
So I know.
Yeah. Okay?
Reading over the minutes of the budget committee, you addressed what it would take to cover the total deficits of the $250,000. It was it says here that you asked the clerk to run the numbers on it, and it came out to about $322 per $100,000 household.
That's only if there was a tax, you had a town hall meeting or a special vote to raise the levy.
Okay.
And that's
To make
only,
up the difference.
if it's, that's, budget's just proposed. I said, hopefully, like I said, it's out there, it's a number, you don't want to get there. To get past there, you have to have a special meeting to go past your budget. That's what kept the government about to shut down, because they outspent their means.
I don't think, I was kind of picking up that, I don't think a lot of people understood that
This isn't not going to raise your taxes if the consolidation has nothing to do with that's going to raise your taxes to the county or anything like that.
consolidation does not occur.
If consolidation does not occur, then we either have to look at services, other things, or hope, you know, we find other silver bullet somewhere to go there.
Which is possibly Keno
Would
could
go
be.
like a lead balloon.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess that's what.
We're running out of time for a town hall meeting option.
Correct.
And so, you know, if we pass a current budget with a known possible loss in cash reserve, we could get through a year and then possibly try to the town hall meeting next year. But with the schedule that we've got, I just don't see a town hall meeting being a possible option. And I don't know how supportive it would be anyway. I mean, you know, it's not a good economy right now.
You have to have 20 days, don't you?
We looked into it
I
as
think
a
it was
20.
20 days.
Yeah, I hate to answer that without the sheet in front of
And
us.
this has to be certified by September.
I believe so, yeah. And I know it's an option at some of the smaller communities. Spalding, I believe, has done town hall meetings for a number of years. I'm not sure about Greeley, but the library has held town hall meetings and overridden their levy somehow through the county. And I think that budget goes through the county. But it is an option we discussed, but I don't know that we have time for it.
one of the biggest drawbacks that I've talked to Roger and some too, and Dan and them about doing this is, once you do it, you can never come back because of all your equipment and everything else. In the proposal from the county, after 3 years, or 2014 would have to be there, we would actually get our equipment back if we so desired, and we could start up. We just have to hire officers and go forward with that. And again, he said something about a 6-month opt-out, so it could be, if that was wrote in there, again, this is all just proposed, it could be sooner than that. If, we started down that road and it was the worst idea ever, we can get out of it and decide, hey, we're better off going the other way. I said, I'm a numbers person. Like I said, when I went through this, I looked to where we could cut the most without losing services. And that's where, like I said, there will be someone in Ord on the, out and about just as much as there is now, if you go with the proposal. And we would save $120,000 off the revised budget if they did current hours compared to the year before.
I guess again, reading from the minutes, it said that Chief Miller was in favor of consolidation rather than cutting services. That was in the minutes also.
That was probably a comment that was made after the fact.
That was a comment made to them.
Yeah, I don't know that that was a quote
If it
from
went to a two-man
Officer
department.
Miller.
Yeah, he said he would rather see, and I'm probably going to get it wrong, and Adam's here and he can speak for himself.
Yeah, I prefer that be done, I don't want to speak for Adam either, so.
Yeah, I was reading from the minutes.
Yeah, I especially should have probably looked at those concerns. Yeah,
I think after he thought he was backed into a corner or something.
Any other comments, questions, suggestions?
Catherine, were you going to say something?
Brad?
We have one right
Oh,
here.
here.
Okay, sorry.
My name's Catherine Duray. You said that if the consolidation goes forward, that there would be an officer on duty as much as there is now. Do you know how many hours the police actually spend on duty? Do you know what time they go off duty in the morning?
Through looking at, once it comes over there, I have hours that they're to work. I mean, I know what those are from talking to Adam.
But do you know what time they actually go off duty in the morning?
That's up to the police chief and the scheduling that he
So
provides.
in other words, you don't know?
We don't approve the schedules, but we've got the hours worked.
I understand.
If you want a general, but you're asking what time do they go on, what time do they go off?
No, I
That's
just,
not
I
a-
just asked, do you know what time they go off duty in the morning?
I think it varies. I hope it varies. I don't know that we want to keep a set schedule. So I don't know that that's a question we can answer. We can give you total hours, but I don't know that we can give you the
I
actual
just asked
schedule.
one simple question, thank you.
We could give you last week's schedule. I don't know if we want to, but there's certain things we want to make public, and there's certain things we don't want to
Well,
make
I
public.
can tell you
so.
what time they go off meeting.
Okay,
Let's move along.
okay, thank you. Anyone else from the council?
I'd just like to say that everything's still on the table, you know. Like I mentioned before, you know, benefits, wages, there's still a lot of things to talk about. This isn't just one issue.
Do you have projected numbers for the keynote?
For
We
the
haven't
what?
said anything about that tonight. Now, do you have any numbers that you think that the keynote might generate?
Really is doing some research on Keno.
No.
It depends more on the makeup of your community. North Loop actually brought in more money monthly than Neely, and Neely's quite a bit larger. So, no, we really don't have any estimates.
North Loop was kind of all over the board. They were anywhere from what, 50 to 100,000?
Just a year.
Yeah.
We're looking at.
Could be a good thing.
Possible.
How much that was gonna make up the difference, or?
No.
You can't count on
You
that.
can't count on it, so it's not a guaranteed continuing revenue, you know.
And I guess my thoughts, me personally, on Keno is more, not so much to fix budget problems as it is to parks and recreation and things like that. Pool, you know, different things. I mean, this isn't a budget fix, it's more of a community development tool. This is how I look at it. I don't know how everybody else thinks.
That's what we talked about.
Yeah.
Is there a concern, like in North Loop, I lived there for 12 years before coming to Ord, and I would really, within that little community, I would say the poverty level is rather high. And I still have relatives down there, and I guess my concern is this is a high level of poverty, the checks come in and it goes straight into gambling. And I feel that's a moral decay, and I don't find pride in raising money with people becoming victims to an addiction to gambling. And that is I think there's a matter of honor, there's a matter of pride that we as a community must maintain, because we cannot gather wealth of an addiction or a melody that goes with gambling, and I don't find that healthy.
Yeah, and I think we're swaying a little, but it'll come down to a vote of the people, and it'll be the decision of the community whether we get Keno or not. So it's just something that we've looked at and trying to consider once again. But it's not a done deal, and we're not counting on it. If it passes, we'll try to, make do with, or we'll do something with the revenue, but it's not.
I think it's about time to close.
Is it a raid?
It's Darcy. Darcy Severance.
Can't be a raid, all the cops.
Okay.
Why does that not surprise me?
Okay, anyone else from the council? I wanted to make sure all the council members had an opportunity to comment. Any additional comments, questions, or suggestions from the citizens? If not, I appreciate everyone showing up tonight. I appreciate the open dialogue. I, particularly appreciate the courtesy that you've shown everyone. I think it was very well done, so I do thank you for that. You each have opportunity to talk to us one-on-one as well, but we wanted to do this in an open forum. So again, as was mentioned a number of times, the budget is not final. It is still under consideration. We are still looking at other options and opportunities. And the scheduled hearing will be September 7th at
7:45.
7:45
At
PM.
City Hall.
At the City Hall. John?
Butch, could you, I know it's not done, but could you go into a few of the other options you're looking at?
I think Jay did touch on some of those in his opening comments, but we're looking at salaries, benefits. Where's that list? The Keno being an opportunity, some changes at the golf course.
Some consolidation of departments.
Of
in the
departments
city.
eventually. I mean, there's funds that we still have available that could be used on a temporary basis, but only as a Band-Aid, not as a long-term solution. So if we wanted to postpone our decisions on some of the major things, I think we still have a few options to look at, but I don't know that it's going to solve the problem. So I'm hoping personally that we come to some type of a conclusion on this budget to face the deficits that we're having now. But yeah, it's still kind of up in the air, and it really comes down to the mayor deciding whether we want to pursue further negotiations on this or just take it to the September hearing.
Thank you.
Okay,
One last question.
One more.
You made a mention about different areas of cutting, and you brought to my mind the attention of, like, we provide our people who work for our community health care, do we not?
Yes.
Do they co-pay any part of their hospital?
All of those options are being looked at.
But right now, we're paying the full medical bill?
No, I don't believe so.
Do they pay a co-pay for their monthly premium?
If you want the details on those kinds of things, I'm going to have to refer you to Sandy or city clerk, because I don't have the specific details on all of that.
Well,
I know the
just
totals.
wondered as part of the budget cut.
We're looking at all of those situations.
So like at the hospital, they pay a part of their medical care.
It is under consideration. No other questions or comments? I appreciate you coming out tonight. Thank you.